The pen tool is P on your keyboard. It looks like a pen right here on your tools panel. You want to click on that, and you probably want to zoom in pretty close. And what I want to do is recreate the Starbucks coffee text. So you've got the pen tool selected. Now before I do it, I'll just show you. If you click, you've created a point. If you click again and hold it, you've created another point with a line in between, which is the same as the polygonal lasso tool. But watch the difference. If I just click and drag, I'm making a handle. And that handle can be rotated 360 degrees, and it can also be pulled longer and shorter. Okay, that's a precise mathematical vector that is plotting what this curve is going to look like. Okay, so like if you've heard, what's your vector, with towers vectoring pilots, vector formations is in aviation. That's what they're doing. They're plotting points and curves in between. It's called a vector. So what you can do is just pull the handle either long or short and rotate it as you do that. Okay, 360 degrees, and then let go, and then you can come all the way back to the original point, and then that's sort of like a selection. You can make that a selection as if you were closing the polygonal lasso tool, but for now we don't have to do that, so I'm not going to show you that. So I'm going to go back in my history panel, and I got the pen tool selected. What I want to do is just make a curve that matches the bottom of the Starbucks arc. Okay, so I'm going to start right here, click a point, and I'm going to aim for about halfway, and then I'm going to carefully click and drag until I get a nice rounded curve that seems to conform to the text. Okay, it's not going to be perfect, but try to get it pretty close. And when you think you got it, let go. And now here's a trick. You have to do this. Hold the Alt key down on your keyboard and click that point. Now watch what happens to the handle. You've got a handle that's got a center point. If I hold the Alt key down and click that center point, you see what happened? If I would not have done that and tried to click again, what it's going to do is try to make the exact same curve on the other side of it. You know what I'm saying? And you don't always want to do that. So if you hold the Alt key down and select that midpoint, now you're free to make that second arc vector conform to anything you want. I know that's confusing, but I guess for now just remember Alt, click on that last point, and then click and drag again for another curve. Okay, and I'm just going to carefully try to conform to the text. It's very tricky. It takes a lot of practice. And then let go. Okay, leave it how it is, and then immediately go to your tools panel and click the type tool. And when you hover over the beginning of this arc with your type tool, you see how you get either this icon, or if you hit the right place, you get this. That's what you want. What that means is you're going to be using the path to conform the text to. Then what you'd want to do is click and then type in Starbucks. Now you can see the type is huge, but just type in all of it, select it, and you can make it smaller. You want to go to your character panel to do that. Window, character, and you can type in a smaller point size. Now you see how it's made just the text that you had selected smaller, but not the text that you couldn't get to because it was too big. It wasn't in the field of vision. That's kind of complicated too. So now just make sure you select everything and do that again. And now it's all the same size. Whoops. I guess you have to do it a third time here, or I'm going to have to do it a third time. I know that's confusing. The idea is you want to make sure that all the text is selected. Okay. It's about 31 points. And I think this is Arial bold. I don't know why I don't get that. Here, let's just type bold. Close enough. It's also an all cap. So I want to go back to my character panel, and under the options arrow, select all caps. I had to make it smaller because all caps is a little bit big. Close enough, okay? I'm going to make the text white by clicking on the foreground color icon in my tools panel and just typing in 0000 under CMYK build, and then click OK, and now you've transformed the text to white. Or you can make it black by typing in 100 under the K symbol, and that way if you want to, if you just need it black just to see it, to make adjustments, it'll be easier to see. And you can go in and you can kern. The easiest way to do that is just hold down your Alt key and just hit your left and right arrows. If I want to draw a line to get to, check your horizontal, make sure that your rulers are showing view rulers. See right there, and it's got a check next to it, so that means they're up. And from the top, from the horizontal rulers on the top of your screen here, just click and drag and then let go, and now you've got a rule, and that'll give you a horizontal. So what you can do then is select or put a cursor to the beginning of your text, and if you have to enter or just again Alt arrows, you're kerning, and that way you can get it. Make sure that it's horizontal if you want that. That looks okay. And I want to track it much tighter. Whoops. Good enough. Okay, so that's half the text we want. And I'm going to turn that layer back on. And with my pen tool again, I'm going to make another path. Now what I want to do is select my pen tool again. I'm going to draw another curve on the bottom of the coffee text. So you just click and drag while you're turning the handle to make sure your curve is nice and conforming to what you want. If you didn't have text, in other words, if you were doing this from scratch, you'd want to conform to a circle or something that is a nice clean curve, and you can find an image or make a circle first and then use your pen tool to conform really nicely to it, and let go. If you want, you can draw a horizontal line to make sure you know where your next point should be, and then remember the Alt key on your keyboard, and then click that point, and then click again and click and drag. It's very tricky to do this, and let go. And now with your type tool, enter your cursor and you can type in your text. Now it should default to all caps because that's what you had last. You see that? On my character panel you can see it's already defaulting to all caps, which is perfect. Same color, same font. Okay, so now I guess what we want to do is kern it, track it, adjust it so that it looks good. It's very hard to do this in Photoshop and make it look good. So let's say that's what you wanted, okay? What I would do is delete this bottom layer, you don't need it. And I would save two files, one for the Starbucks text, one for the coffee text. Okay, so the first thing you'd want to do is in your layers panel make invisible one or the other. So I'm going to make the coffee layer invisible for now. I'm going to crop the file so that I don't have all this extra space around the outside. Hit enter. So with your text tool, select your text, click your foreground color, and you need to make sure that your CMYK build is all zeros, which is white, and click OK. It's going to be hard to see, but that's what you want, white in this case. And then go to File, Save for Web. And now you want to save it as a Ping24 because that gives you a transparent background as long as this box transparency is clicked. And also, Ping24s are acceptable for publisher. Save, navigate. I'm going to just save mine to my desktop and call this Starbucks text and hit save. And now I want to go back to the coffee text, which is invisible now because we cropped. So one thing you can do is in your history panel, just go back. And now I'm going to make the Starbucks text invisible. And I'm going to crop again to the coffee text. Now when you do a save for web, you're not saving the editable file, you're just you're saving a separate file. So this first file with the coffee text and the Starbucks text, that's your editable file. Okay, I'm going to make this text white and do another save as file. File, save for web, Ping24 transparency, save, and I'm going to call it coffee text and hit save. Now in my history panel, I'll go back to where I was again, make both Starbucks and coffee visible. I'm going to save this too as my editable file. Save it as a Photoshop document with your layers. I'm going to call it Starbucks text editable, because you might want to go back, save, or I might want to go back. Now one thing that's really important to remember on your layers panel, you see how there's a little icon, this T indicates text layer. Now what that means is technically that's a vector object. Okay, that means you can apply vector programming that was made when the font was created. You can rasterize that to make it pixels, and the way you do that is select your layer, your type layer, text layer, and go to Layer, Rasterize, Type. And now you see how that T, that little icon that means text layer, it's not there anymore. Now you don't want to do that, Control Z, because you want the text in this case to be vector, because in Publisher you want to be able to scale it larger or smaller without having to worry about pixels. Okay, so let me show you that. Go back to our Publisher document, and I'm just going to do a click and drag into it. Here's my coffee text, and here's my Starbucks text. This is not perfect because I really rushed this, but it gives you a really good idea of how to do this. I'm going to make my file a little bigger here. How about none? So, isn't that cool? So what you've got here is a vector graphic essentially that you've imported into the Publisher. And if the curve isn't quite right, you can pull from the side, and that'll warp it slightly, maybe to conform to the curve a little better for you. Okay, see that? It's not perfect. I would have, really taken my time, and done a little nicer job. But this is good enough just to demonstrate. So, and you can curve You know, if you want to just rotate it a little bit. Oops, maybe a little bit more. The coffee's a little bit sloppy there. And you can see it's not the right font. This font is, like I said, it shows up in Publisher but not Photoshop. I'm not really sure why. Let me show you. Insert text box. Arial Black, that's what it was. That's what I was trying to get at. I think that's the right font, but you know, and it's in all caps.